welcome to the Shootout Podcast. Kevin Sylvester, Rob Ray, and Mike Robitaille. Sabres lose Game 5. Carolina leads now 3-2, a 4-3 overtime win. Corey Stillman with a game-winning goal in overtime on the power play. And we'll start right there, guys, because that was the story of this game. Carolina had 7 power plays, scored 2 power play goals tonight. Sabres only had 4 power plays and did not score with a man advantage, and had a great opportunity, Razor, in overtime. They ended the game with a man advantage, start overtime with a man advantage, and really don't mount anything.
Well, we talk about this all the time, how important special teams are. And, in games like this is where it has to come through. They have to really kind of find themselves and come up with something, and somebody has to come up and play a little differently than normal sometimes. You look for that one guy to carry it, and I don't think tonight on their power play side that, there was somebody making that commitment. They tried having, Pyatt in front of the net a few times, and they changed personnel up quite a bit, just trying to search for something, because I think he realized that it wasn't going well, and he was, in a desperate situation, and he was willing to try anything. They got opportunity, but they just weren't able to finish.
What I thought was really noticeable tonight was the fact that Carolina, I don't think they forechecked very well. And the other part of that, on the other side of the coin, is the fact that Buffalo's defense, I thought, played very well. And Brian Campbell stepped up, and he played like a superstar tonight. What do you have, about 28 minutes? And
Rory Fitzpatrick, same way.
Yeah, and the downtrodden 2 from Rochester that everybody's after, I thought played pretty well too. So, they got the job. Buffalo played hard. They worked hard. And probably the biggest thing of the game was they had a 2-0 lead, and they gave that 2-0 lead up. I mean, that has to be a dream come true, isn't it? A game like that, you're on the road, 2-0 lead. Wow, that's a good spot to be in, man.
A lot of the times, it seems like when the Sabres get a lead, they'll sit back.
They had a 2-goal lead. It was 1-1, and then they went up 2-1, then 3-1. So they had a 2-goal lead, which...
what did I say?
2-0 lead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it is getting near midnight.
We know what you meant.
It's a hunting hour.
But you know what? Tonight they didn't go into that defensive shell that they normally go in and sit back and, allow Carolina or whoever they're playing come at them and have a million opportunities. They continued to play, aggressive, go at teams. But I think when they did that, they opened themselves up a little bit because they were a little over-aggressive, taking themselves out of the play a little bit, and Carolina capitalized on the opportunities. And, you can say one's bad, one's good. But, in this case, most of the time, because it's early in the game, you got a 2-goal lead, that you'd want to continue to play aggressive and not change your game plan. But maybe a little bit in this case, it came back to haunt you a little bit.
Well, you look at the goals Buffalo scored in this game, Mike. Chris Drury scores on a rush. They're really all, one-man opportunities. Roy, Finnegan have helped out on Roy's and perhaps may have committed a penalty that wasn't called to allow Roy to score, but... they were really those type of plays where Carolina's goals were traffic in front of the net, screen goals, the hard-working type goals, the veteran type goals.
Get your nose dirty goals, paying the price goals. Yep.
They had some chances in overtime, in those get your nose dirty type of goals, and Ward stepped up and made a couple big saves.
You bring up a good point. When I think back over the game, I think you're right. The chances were individual efforts, not necessarily collectively 3 guys just lambasting everything and charging the net. So, yeah, it was a mirrored reflection. You do go down the other end, and most of Carolina's action was just penetrating that crease area. And I look at 2-goal lead. On the road, you should never lose a game like that. On the upside, I've got to tell you, I'm not overly impressed with Buffalo, but a pretty impressive effort tonight, considering that Carolina had to be looking at this game like, if we don't win it, this series is over. And the table was set for Carolina, and they almost lost it. Buffalo almost beat them. So no one can say they didn't show up and they didn't play hard, and they didn't give it a good effort. And that says an awful lot. That might carry the day for them come Tuesday night.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the same as the other night. It seemed the other night there was no second effort.
Now, that was
tonight there was. These guys
better.
were hitting. They were physical. They were forechecking. It seemed like times they were, had Carolina hemmed in their end for the longest time. It seemed like every time the puck came into our zone, the D were able to make the play to move it up the ice because the forwards are chipping in, holding up guys, getting in the way so they wouldn't get that pressure down low. And Ryan was clearing the puck. There was no second and third opportunities in front, and you'd want to think they were playing a perfect road game. And it just kind of, they did play a good game, and it just, came down to who got the lucky break.
Team's now 4-1 in overtime this postseason. So it's the first time they've lost in overtime. It's the first time they are facing elimination in this postseason. So this is a different situation when they come home on Tuesday night on home ice facing elimination, facing a veteran team with guys who, have put teams away.
But you know what? Every time these guys have faced adversity all season, they've stepped up and they've come up big. Whether it's injuries, whether it's, guys banged up, sickness, travel, whatever the question was, they've played big. And every one of them have played well. Ryan's been stellar. Another game tonight, Ryan played very well. The defensive as a core, we talked to, tonight that, was it going to be a question? Definitely not. I thought it was the strongest part of our game. These guys played very well. So
got the puck out good on those first passes all night there.
If you're going to pick one spot, maybe you could pick on the power play a little bit, but in general, they played a very, very strong game.
You talk about a game that's decisive. I mean, if you don't win, you're out. It had to be that way for Carolina tonight. They had to win that game. I mean, there's just no question about it. And so I'll tell you, they as you mentioned, they crashed the net and they worked very hard. I didn't think they forechecked as well as they could, but Buffalo's defense reacted very, very well, and I thought both teams gave a good, honest effort.
Interesting that Gerber, you knew Buffalo. Well, at least you'd think Buffalo wasn't going to get shut out 2 games in a row. They come off a shutout. The game earlier they had a poor effort, and they go in and they score. On those individual efforts on Gerber, he gets yanked. It's kind of surprising to see a goalie get pulled after he comes off a shutout, but he gets yanked. But again, Laviolette, the right move. Cam Ward comes in, shuts Buffalo down. To me, that's twice that the goaltender's been pulled in this series by Carolina, and they've shut Buffalo down both times. That's surprising.
I think that Cam Ward has had a history of this too in the previous series, New Jersey, and I think in the back of the mind, Laviolette knew that, and he knew he was in a desperate situation, so he had to roll the dice to see what would happen. Give him a lot of credit because he knows his team. He knows the ins and outs, what makes him click, what makes things work, and he took that chance. Might not have backfired, but he was in a situation where he was very desperate. He had to try something, and it worked for him.
Those are great signs of a good coach. I mean, it hurts.
Give him credit.
I mean, he doesn't want to, but you can't worry about hurting someone's feelings at this point in the year. How about the game last night in Anaheim? This Boschman, who has played so well, he's just been a star back there, especially on the power play. Most important time of the whole series in the last 3 minutes of the game, they didn't use him. He pulled him and went with Getzlaff, like a rookie stepped in. I mean, see, those are tough calls, but he made it.
Well, you know what? Gerber might have been a little upset when he was pulled, but I'll tell you, he would have went in the dressing room, calmed off a little bit, and then as soon as they scored that second goal and then the third, I'll tell you, he's just as happy as anybody that he was probably pulled, and it gave them shots an opportunity to win, and that's just part of the game. Some nights they just don't have it.
All right, let's get to some emails here. Shootout@sabres.com. Mike writes in, what do you think of Gilson and Janik, and do you think we would be better off using offensive players as our defense? Well, let me answer that second part. There was a time where Pominville was left alone back there on a breakaway, and it was spinning in circles. So people said use Pominville as a defenseman. I think you saw right there why that wouldn't be the case.
No, you see on the power play sometimes when you drop, Timmy Conley or Kodalik or a player to that nature back there, and all of a sudden there's a turnover and you're coming down 2-on-1, or you make the bad decision, you try to pinch, and you create a 2-on-1. No, these guys know. They know how to play. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You're a defenseman. You know how the game is. Sometimes you're maybe not up to speed, but these guys are now. They looked fine out there tonight. They played about 10 minutes apiece. They didn't make the mistakes that they did the other night. They were fine. They did what they had to do, and Glennie Ruff kind of turned to Fitzpatrick and Campbell early, realized they had things going, so they played them a ton. They played a lot more than
Campbell,
Jay McKee even played tonight.
McKee and Lubin were there at 22, and Fitzpatrick was 23 and 28 for Campbell. So, he wasn't holding back the horses with those
So the
guys.
other two kids ate up 10 minutes and gave those guys an opportunity to rest when they needed to.
Yeah. And Newman, who was a game-time decision. We'll have to wait and see what the situation is for Game 6. But I I would think moving forward, if you're Lindy Ruff, you got to prepare like he's not going to be in there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Don't even. I mean, it's a bonus if he can jump in, but right now you've got to deal with reality, and reality says right now he's not ready.
All right, Tyrone from.
And by the way, he probably hasn't broken a sweat in about probably a week either. So it's not something like he can go and skate hard and work out for a while. I mean, it's a groin injury. And he's kind of stuck.
All right, Tyrone from Rochester emails in. This is a bad loss and a bad break for Buffalo, but I do believe Buffalo can force a Game 7 situation. Can they play better like they did tonight, even when they lost that 2-goal lead, the build-up? Okay.
Well, yeah, they're going to come back. They'll play it just as good or better, once they get back home, because they're going to be in a situation where, it's do or die. So they have to throw everything they have at them, and you got to expect that, they're going to come out flying. Carolina, they were in that situation tonight. They knew if they didn't win, coming back here, they were in awfully big trouble. So you're going to see a desperate hockey team doing exactly what they have to do. And don't think that, we're talking about losing this game. They gave themselves an opportunity to win on the road tonight, a very tough situation. So, if they can play this well and better, they're having a very good opportunity to win this game next.
Max had a breakaway with 2.5 minutes to go. A great opportunity to win the game right there. And in overtime, Jochen Hesch had a great Ward made a tremendous save. And I forget the other player who had a nice a little quick shot, but again, Ward came up with the puck. So they had their opportunities to score and win the game. They can't sit there right now in their stalls saying, "Boy, we blew," we got hosed or whatever, got robbed, what have you. Yeah. It was a legit goal, and they had a chance to score goals.
Now you'd have to think, now what happens here with Carolina? I mean, they're sitting in the catbird seat a little bit now. Buffalo, they have no choice. Everything has to go right for the Sabres in this next game. Miller can't have a bad night. He has to be really good. Mm-hmm. There's so many ands and ifs. I mean, what happens if Ward is playing? He has a game of his life. Just what happens if they get a couple of bad breaks? And where Carolina, they can come in here and really lay back in the weeds and wait, be patient, wait for Buffalo to make mistakes. Their goaltending is good. The game's tight. It'll play right into their hands. Remember, Buffalo has to win this game. Carolina doesn't have to win this game. They're still breathing if the game's over.
Buffalo's got to open it up, and they got to throw everything they have at it. And, the only fear of that is when you do that, you open it up, and it gives them an opportunity to capitalize on turnovers, on outnumbered situations, because sometimes you may be telling your D to get a little more aggressive, get in the zone, try to create a little more. And a lot of the times when you do that, it may create outnumbered situations. That is when you need Ryan Miller to come up large. He's going to have to make that big save 3 times in the game because they're probably going to get those opportunities.
All right, Kim writes in, did Briere not get high-sticked in the face, neck, in that overtime just as he was releasing his wrist shot? Why was that not called? You can see the ref looking right at the high stick, and Daniel could not believe it wasn't called. Thanks, Kim.
It's a conspiracy.
I know the play in which Kim is talking about. Actually, I think it happened right before overtime. I thought it happened at the end of regulation where things came up high. I mean, it wasn't called.
Well, once again, people are talking about the refereeing. And, we give them a lot of credit. They continued to call penalties going into overtime, the last minute or 2 minutes of the game, and then in overtime. So, you know what? They didn't change their game plan. They didn't, all of a sudden say, hey, okay, we're going to let these guys play, or we're not going to make the calls that need to be called. They stuck to their guns. And once again, you're not going to catch everything that goes on out there. The odd thing is going to slip by, or it's going to be a judgment call. So, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is.
Rodney writes, in the way I see it, they didn't get outplayed and could have easily won that game, so there's no reason why this team can't win 2 straight against the Canes. It's still a faith from Rodney. Well,
absolutely.
Can they? I mean, what's it going to take to win 2 straight? I mean, Carolina has won 2 straight games. You'd think they'd be carrying all that momentum, but does that mean anything once the puck's dropped Tuesday night?
Well, I think what's really important for number one, you can't have a bad night for Miller. Miller has to be good. You've got to count on that. Doesn't have to be Sterling. It has to be good. I mean, really keep them in check. The other thing is that they have to control this game early, get up, get into the lead. Then they have an opportunity to play their lead, play the way maybe they want to play. If they don't get that lead, and it's going on, the game's going on, things change psychologically, physically. You start pressing, you're doing things you shouldn't be doing. Now you're down 1-0, or the game is tied 1-1. You're not playing comfortably. I mean, you want to be up and you want to be in a comfort zone where you can play the way you should be playing and follow a game plan. And that goes out the window. Kevin, real quick, if the game's half over and you're down by a goal. It's a different story. All of a sudden, Carolina now, they're just sitting back and waiting, and they're playing smart, waiting for opportunities, just kind of patient and discouraging the other team.
The astonishing thing is tonight, though, they had that lead. Buffalo, you talked about it earlier. I don't want to keep harping on the same point, but they got a 3-1 lead. You could see it in them, like, we're in this game, and I don't know if
for a better position.
I don't know if they relaxed a bit, but really that second goal, it was quite bothersome that you let a guy, like Recchi, stand right on the doorstep there, and Doug Waite,